It's late night and I am live. I have definite ideas about things that I've been sitting on all day long that I was going to do a video about tomorrow, but I'm not able to sleep right now. For some reason, I am in tremendous pain. The medication they give me is not working, so it's back to the drawing board tomorrow. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Tidkemeyer. I wrote a column for Pathos for nearly 10 years called No Longer Quivering, where I looked at quiverful religion. I looked at evangelicalism. I looked at fundamentalism. I looked at all kinds of different things. And some I'd personally experienced, some not. Um, all day long on Twitter. Hey, Saturn. No, I'm not feeling better. I'm feeling worse. High fever, lots of pain. So back to the doctor tomorrow. Um, okay, and I was going to say, hit like, subscribe, whatever. Do the YouTube things. I really appreciate that. Don't bully anybody. Don't be nasty or rude or mean. Um, Caleb Williams. If you don't know who Caleb Williams is, he is the grandson of Ron Williams of Hepzibah House. Hey, Bossy. Oh, my goodness. Hepzibah House was this place where it was your typical IFB troubled teen industry home. And there's been, hey, Danielle, a lot of abuse claims that have come out of there. So many girls that I've talked to. My dearest friend, Cindy Kunzman, has talked to so many of the girls that came out of there who are now grown adults now, who've told some pretty horrific tales of the abuse that happened in that place. That is the grandfather of Caleb Williams. Caleb is the one that Josh Duggar tried to blame all the downloading and the hard drive partition, all of that. He tried to blame it on Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, grandson of Ron Williams. Why would he do that? Well, couple things. Caleb Williams is a convicted sex offender. He just is. He has been convicted of. I've heard different stories about what exactly happened. I don't know. I just know he's on the registry. So I think that Josh thought that it would be an easy mark to throw and say, oh, he did it, he did it, he did it. And Caleb Williams took the stand that it's pretty obvious he didn't do it. He did work for Josh for a while. He's apparently a Josh friend from way back and a Duggar friend, and apparently they're having nothing to do with him because he wasn't backing Josh's story, I guess. And well, who would? Because it's the worst of the worst of the worst of child porn. Let's just put it that way. So it came out earlier today that everyone's favorite trauma vulture, without a box of Kleenex, decided that she was going to interview Caleb Williams. People on Twitter lose their minds about it. They were trying to reach out to Caleb Williams and say, no, don't do this, don't do this. She has said all these horrible things about you in the past. I mean, even the preacher boys, those guys got involved in trying to persuade Caleb Williams not to go on Without a Box of Kleenex channel, rather unsuccessfully. And, I've been thinking about it all day, even though I also warned him. I had started thinking about that, he is on the registry. I mean, he's been convicted of it. He's not allowed to see the child as a result of that. He does tell a tale of this little girl's parents letting her live with him when she was like way underage. And I'm not sure how much of that I buy, even though I know there's a lot of really sick things going on in Quiverful. There just are. It is just a type of theology that brings the worst out in people sometimes. So he's been convicted. He's been convicted of that. I believe his brother has had his own issues with that too. I seem to remember that, but I had to pull out my notebooks and do a ton of research to figure out. I really hate the Quiverful cult. So do I, Chronically Bee Queen. It is so wickedly evil on so many different levels, some of the things they come up with. So Caleb is who Josh tried to blame for Josh's actions with the corn. And clearly that did not stand up in court. I think, if I remember right, that Caleb was not there on the days and times that these things were downloaded. And I don't think he worked for Josh very long. Just saying, I can't sleep. I am having crazy pain from diverticulitis, and the codeine-based pain pills they gave me are doing nothing. Not jack, you know what. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about all of this. And I'm thinking, let Without a Box of Kleenex interview him. Because like I said, he's got a problematic nature between the way he was raised, the fact of who his grandfather is, and how much damage that was inflicted on so many girls because of his grandfather. So you have that. You have his own interpersonal stories that are just bizarre, and he's gotten convicted as well. Chronically B, I probably should not. As it was, I had to talk them out of trying to give me Mexican super aspirin. I wish I had opioids. I really do. I wish I had Suboxone or something like that, because this is bad. And the things I was given as a fever and fever reducer and inflammation, they're not touching this at all. So it's back to the doctor drawing board tomorrow. But as much as I don't wish Caleb Williams unwell, I don't think that interviewing him, like some are trying to do, is necessarily a good thing. Chronically B, because it's Costa Rica and the doctors here almost never give out opioids for any reason whatsoever. They start you low down. So they wanted to start me with Mexican super aspirin, which is useless. So at least I got something, a little codeine with it. I would like to have something stronger, and I think tomorrow I'm going to have to go back and demand it. It is what it is. And I think it's my immune system is flaring, and that's why I have this, is because of all the nonsense last week with the car issues and my husband's discovery that several of his friends, oxycodone, I can do oxycodone. I think the drama has drained me, and that's what's happened. It's impacted my health. I think surely that's what's going on now. So after everybody on Twitter tried to get Caleb to not go on Without a Box of Kleenex channel and tried to warn her, and he said, no, I'm doing it anyway, including Preacher Boys. They were pretty vociferous about insisting don't go on her channel for any reason. She's twisted. I started thinking about it more and more. Caleb is a convicted sex offender. I'm not sure that even if I was given a chance to interview this guy, if I would do it. Because myself, like so many, were abused. And when you suffer from that, sort of thing, when you've lived through that in your life, the trauma of that, and you've had to deal with it, it's kind of like having nails pulled out, say you're nailed down in your flesh. It's just bad. I can't condone that. And since I don't know the truth of the allegations against him, I'm just thinking that it's probably not a good idea to interview him, at least for me personally. I don't want to give anyone the impression that I condone any kind of essay ever, 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 ever. So I didn't watch her interview with him. I'm not going to watch the interview. I have no intention of ever interviewing him, even though people were tagging me to interview him, saying you should talk to Suzanne or Renelle Smith or blah, blah, blah. And no. I think if you interview him, you're kind of giving him a free pass on the things that he has done in the past, true or untrue. At least that's how I'm viewing it. So there you go. Yes, and stress is definitely, it's just been such a horrible week between the car breakdown. It looks like we have a buyer, decent price for the carcass of our old car. Oh, hey, mermaid in the ICU. I'm glad to see you. So it's going to straighten out. And we have already seen one car that would be an excellent fit that would be in our price range. That is definite possibility. So we're going to buy something here pretty quickly. So that stress will be gone once we have the car bought. And we go back down to Arnold and we sign the paperwork selling the old carcass to some other mechanic. 100% an abuser, shouldn't be given any type of platform. Noelle, that's how I feel about it. I've thought about it all day. I've been watching this all day on Twitter because I've been too damn sick to get out of the bed. So if I'm not near my computer, I've been running around my iPad looking at crap and my keeps going off every few minutes. I don't think that we don't talk to sex abusers unless we know for a fact that what they've done is BS, which he's trying to claim it is. And I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. So I'm going to err on the side of caution and just say, nope, nothing to do with you. Thank you very much. And the other thing that I've been thinking about all day, because somebody left me a nasty comment on Reddit. Without a Box of Kleenex posted something the other day about how oh, let her have him. It will no way validate her. I know that. I started thinking about that, Noelle. She posted that Quiverful homeschooling is always rooted in racism. And while there's some truth to that statement, at least a little bit, because Nancy Campbell of Above Rubies, who was kind of an OG in the Quiverful movement, has stated before that you have to be quiverful to outbreed the brown people and the black people. She has been very upfront about that. That's why one of the reasons that she approves of quiverful. Plus, it's following God in her opinion. You give God the right to open and close your womb. So all these different horrible things have come out of her. But that is not the main reason people homeschool. That isn't. I put, I don't know, like 5 or 6 different reasons that I knew of why people homeschool. And it just went sideways. So I'm just going to talk about it here because I wasn't planning on talking about that in any way, shape, or form. Full confession, I did not homeschool my kids. We had excellent public schools where we were, number one, and they were good private schools. So there was no need to homeschool for me. A lot of the people in my old church homeschooled. I was one of the few families that did not homeschool at all. I had friends that did it and did it so fantastically. Their children ended up, one lady's children ended up, the son at UVA, full scholarship at 16. That's my wonderful friend Lynn. She did such a bang up job that she was able to do that. I had other friends that managed to get their kids through homeschooling and did an excellent, excellent job, including a very super organized lady named Lana that she was just amazing to watch. And she had her like 12 kids. She had everybody homeschooled. She did the books. I used to say for her husband, she did the books for the church. I used to say that listening to her talk about her schedule was exhausting because she's definitely type A. And those people exist. But unfortunately, I think in my experience, they were more the exception than the rule. I recognize that I was not adequate to do homeschooling. It would have taken a huge sacrifice on my part. And I would have done it if something like COVID had happened. I would have bitten the bullet and just done it and grumbled and grind inside the entire time. Oh, thank you, Jeannie. I'm having a time of it. So, but I knew myself well enough to know I wouldn't do that. Almost everybody I went to church with homeschooled, and I heard a variety of reasons. Never once did I hear the reason of racism. The most common reason I heard was to keep their kids out of public schools, away from things like sex education. That was a big no-no. To keep them away from kids who were using drugs or possibly in gangs. I heard that one. I heard people say that it allowed them to protect their children from all the evils of the world, where they wouldn't be exposed to abortion, LBGTQ thought. Like right now, I know it's really big. Kids deciding what their sexuality is. A lot of people that I know in the Quiverful movement want no part of that. They don't want that their children being exposed to that at all. So it's that. I think more than racism. Racism may underpin a lot of what goes on in homeschooling, but it's not the main reason at all. I think some people think that they can give their children a better education, a better classical education. And let's face it, before schools started throughout the country, it was home education. I've never understood homeschooling. You're robbing your children of developing those poignant relationships, rites of passage, and social development. Just saying, that's how I look at it too. I think that when you pull your kids out of school and you start homeschooling them, you rob them of a lot of the things that are just normal parts of our human experience. The kids have less of an opportunity. Oh, hey, Carmel Lou. I didn't expect to do one, but I'm never going to be able to sleep tonight. I can tell you that right now. I may have to go take tequila shots for this pain. It's got to that point. So homeschooling, like I said, if it's done right, it can be a really great thing. But look at what we're finding out in the pandemic when everybody had their kids at home. So many children developed all kinds of depression because they need to have interaction with people who are different than them. I think that's the big benefit of school is instead of you being in your own little group, doubling down on everything, you're exposed to different people and you learn how to work with other people. You learn how to rub up against people who do not hold the same anything as you. Socially stunted. That is exactly right. Just saying. And I know homeschooling families who managed to avoid that. But the ones that I know that their kids turned out all around well-rounded, as well as having the outstanding education, they weren't doing ATI, IBLP workbooks by themselves at the kitchen table like the Duggar kids. They weren't doing that. They were taking their kids out for all sorts of different things, including class enrichment, different classes taught by people that were expert in their field. Um, they were taking their kids out for band. They were taking their kids out to play on Little League and different sports leagues. All of that is important. You have to learn how to get along with other people. You just have to. And I think that that's one of the disadvantages. If you're homeschooling for religious reasons, because you're trying to keep your children in this sealed loop so they'll turn out your religion, guess what? That doesn't always work either. All options need to be available. I had to homeschool for a year because my son couldn't mentally handle it. Noelle, that's a good reason to homeschool. Oh, Bossy, I missed you too. I want to know how your move went. Funny she would allow Caleb on her channel. Yeah, he was pictured at the insurrection that KJ flipped her lid about after he wore a shirt that said Civil War. I thought about that too. And I didn't even really want to pull the political aspect into it at all, except I'm going to say this about the insurrection. I have no idea how that even happened because my years in DC, to go into the Capitol building, they go through your purse, they go through your pockets, they go through everything. There is such strict, tight, controlled security at the door. They must have just overwhelmed. Hey, Belinda Paul, they would have had to overwhelm everybody and do that. So it was kind of interesting to see how many people in the Duggar orbit were actually there at the insurrection. At least I found it interesting. Caleb Williams, too. And just because he's knocked heads with Josh does not make him anybody's friend. The enemy of your enemy is not your friend. KJ even brought it up in videos. He talked about how disgusting they were. I saw that. I talked about it a little too, but just that I was really shocked. The day it happened, we weren't even in the house. We had gone to this wonderful barbecue place here, this Kiko barbecue place where they cook everything outside. And we were sitting in their dining room, which was completely outside, and everybody's phones exploded. Everybody was getting on their cell phones, staring at them, including myself, because our notifications were blowing up. And I was watching this. I was watching this unfold on my phone and just flabbergasted from having been searched going in and out of the Capitol building before. My sister-in-law is homeschooling her kids, but one turned 4 in Jan, the other one turned 3 in the beginning of May. So it's preschool, all B-Day, Christmas, etc. Educational. Oh, that's too bad. Those poor kids. Kids got to play sometime too, and toys aren't such a bad thing, I don't think. My son gives me crap because I did not homeschool him. He thinks he would be better off if he'd have homeschooled and then done self-education instead of going off to college. I don't agree with him on that. First of all, I'm way too ADD to homeschool anybody. I would be like that drunken frog on the hot griddle hopping around. I could have done it. I wouldn't have liked to have done it, and I don't think I would have been good at it. And my youngest is just like my husband. She is a raving extrovert, so it would have been horrible for her to have homeschooled. My son is like me. He's more laid back. He's more introverted. So it may have worked for him, but I don't think it would have worked well with me for anybody. But I had to laugh because my daughter did ask me about that one day recently. She said, "What would you have done if COVID had happened when we were in school?" And I said, I would have grumbled, I would have griped, but I would have done it. Not that it would have been an easy or fun thing, but I would have done it because it was a necessary evil in that time frame. So the thing with homeschooling, everybody has different reasons for doing it. Sometimes you do it because the educational system in your area sucks. I've seen that too. There is a county near where we lived in Virginia where none of the schools were accredited. So to go to college, you had to do jump through all these extra hoops to become accredited. I asked if she was going to send the oldest to kindergarten, and she wants to homeschool until at least 3rd grade. She said they have each other. My dad is an expert in early childhood, whatever. It's kind of hard to say. If you're going to do it, early days might be the time if you're going to do it at all. And he is all about sending kids to school for social skills, etc. Yes, that's the thing. They have to have those type of skills. You have to learn how to navigate in this world around different people. And that's where I think the value of school comes in. I think that teachers need to be paid more. There needs to be more support for different educational systems. And I'm a big believer that homeschooling, as it is in the U.S., needs to change. There needs to be accountability. If you're going to homeschool, you should damn well have to prove that you're actually teaching your children. You're not sitting them at the kitchen table with an ATI IBLP workbook, a wisdom booklet. You should prove that they are learning on grade level. Test them every year. We have School of the Air here. The kids are kind of homeschooled, but they go on a radio thing with teachers all day. It's for kids who live too far from schools. Belinda Paul, I don't have a problem with that. I think that would work. I know that my mother-in-law homeschooled Jim's brother when they were in Nigeria, or else he went to a small private school that the mothers were teaching at. I'm not sure which one it was. But my husband got sent away to British boarding school in Nigeria, which was a different experience that one of these days I'll have to talk about. But he benefited from that too. He learned self-discipline. I think he learned self-discipline. I don't know. So there's every reason to homeschool. It's not just one solid reason that people do it. And it definitely is usually not rooted in racism at all. A lot of times it's because they want their children exposed to different religions. They don't want their children exposed to different worldly things. Sometimes it's just to keep your child safe, particularly if you have a child that has some sort of emotional thing going on. I've seen that too. She said she wants to give her son, the child she never had. That's fine, but school's important. I believe they live in the same town as your daughter in Maryland. Maryland, I think it's a good district. It is a good district, I think. I think so. Bossy, speaking of which, last weekend I got a phone call from my kids. Guess where they had been? They had been to the Mormon Tabernacle Choir there. I mean, the Mormon Tabernacle in Maryland. They had taken the tour and were telling me how incredibly creepy the place was. Just saying, I know it's illegal here. And it's kind of funny because the homeschool legal defense people on their website have Costa Rica listed as a place where you can homeschool. Nope. It is illegal here. If the Costa Ricans find you doing that, they figure out you're doing that. You know what they do? They'll tell you have so many days to enroll your child in a accredited school, or we will take your child, put them through CPS, and then deport the whole family. You see that here as well. I was in boarding school for a while. Remote community kids all go to boarding school. Year 7. I went to boarding school for a while. It was kind of strange. But I went because my parents were angry with me. So it's illegal here. Yeah, the remote community kids all go to boarding school. That's why my husband had to go to boarding school in Nigeria. There were no English-speaking schools anywhere near where they were. So he had to go to school in Ibadan, Nigeria. I tease him about that sometimes because he's talked about dating Precious Benson, the heir to the Benson and Hedges fortune, way back then. I wonder where she is now. So homeschool for the right reasons. Don't homeschool because you're trying to raise your kid like veal in the box, or because you are trying to be a racist. Now, while there are some parts of Quiverful that are quite racist, that are quite anti-woman, homeschooling seems to be almost entirely the province of women in the Quiverful movement. And curriculums are big business. People make all kinds of money off of curriculums. I think even, I'm trying to think of what her name is. The lady who started the whole back to the home movement, Mary Pride, I think she was selling some sort of curriculum at one time as well. It wasn't all IBLP. And sometimes they would have homeschooling fairs where you could look at the curriculum. So the people I know have done the best about educating their children wrote their own curriculums, and they were all educated. They were all well educated. So it wasn't that much of a stretch for them to do that. The main thing that in my old Quiverful church that I remember everybody saying about homeschooling is they homeschooled to keep their kids out of the clutches of this world, from being exposed to all kinds of evil things. Keeping a child from attending school is considered child A, and your kids will be removed from care as well as charges brought against you, rightfully so. At least there was, I love boarding, at least there was food and beds and stuff. The nuns were a bit bossy though. Linda, that's what I remember. But I also would climb the fence and hitchhike into town too. So I was not a very nice girl in those days. I need to go. My dad was here last weekend, and this weekend he straight up said no. My mom was here all week. My dad dropped her off, picked her up. So my mom was here all week. She said no way too. Okay, bossy, it's got to be late for you. Go to bed. Go to bed. I'm going to try to do that myself here in a few minutes. I don't know if the stupid drugs are ever going to kick in and lift the pain or not, but we'll see. That was, yeah, so that's a couple things I just wanted to address that I know that Without a Box of Kleenex was involved in. Like I said, I'm not thinking that anything that Caleb Williams has to say is going to be something that's believable. The fact that he has that problematic thing going on already in his house, his life, doesn't lead credence to him in my eyes. Even though I'm sorry that Josh Duggar made him his scapegoat. That's just wrong. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go because it is late. It's 11:30 here. I should try to sleep, even if I can't. Okay, have a good evening. Rest as best you can. And tomorrow we start again. We're going car shopping tomorrow. So that ought to be a bucket of laughs.